So here we go. So here we are, still worrying and talking and playing with Apothia products and cosmetic and beauty and.
Yeah. So why? Why are you so? Why? That's the big question.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out myself. No.
Can't get enough.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I told somebody just the other day that I'm sort of an addict. I have an addiction to entrepreneurship and retail. And somebody says, all I have to do is say, hey, I got this new project, and why don't we, do you think? And I go, yeah, I'm so excited about that. That wouldn't be, but I have to, sort of calm down. But do you know that almost a year and a half ago, I announced to the public that I was going to close my stores at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And that was all, that had been planned for some time, because at that time I was doing it for 40 years. When I actually closed it, it was 42 years.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to have a different lifestyle. I didn't need to prove anything else anymore. I was, my dream had come true. I was pleased, and I really wanted to change. And I had created Apothia as a fragrance brand 20 years ago this year. And I was going to dedicate myself to just focusing on that and growing that. But I figured that would reduce the time that I spent doing all of these things by a great deal, and I could spend more time with my wife and outside. And of course, with COVID, we're spending a lot of time together.
I know. Do you regret it now?
Well, no, we haven't gotten divorced yet. We're in good shape. And everything's working out fine. But no, I don't regret it. I'm actually, my friends call me and they say, you're a genius. How did you know?
How did you know? Exactly. You knew something.
To get out, right?
Off, right?
I said, absolutely.
It was really kind of meant to serendipitous. I don't know.
It is. Yeah. But anyhow, I have focused on that because I do love what I do. I do love the things that I get involved with. And it is partly, it just gets in your blood, and that's, I enjoy it, but I do have to taper down or control how I do it and how much I do and how my focus is today. I want to be able to do that.
Right.
And I do get calls weekly about, hey, I've got this new project. Would you help me on this? Or would you like to do the retail of this? And I have to sort of.
It's hard to say no sometimes.
Well, for me, yeah. And that's what I'm learning to do, is how to say no.
Yeah.
Selectively.
Yeah. I mean, some things could be really great. You might want to jump in.
It's not a matter of wanting to.
Yeah.
It's a matter of how much effort and time does it take to do each one of the things I do. But I've taken on this focus of Apothia, which our fragrance company, which I started 20 years ago. And my time has been totally full. We have new collaborations that came our way. We have new product that I've put out. And still yet to put out other new product. And it's very exciting. My son, Max, has been working ever since about a year and a half, maybe more, on our first he redid the website. Now he's taking over the direction of it and the marketing of the website. And thank goodness we did that too, because when COVID hit, our website just took off. It was off the charts. It was fantastic.
Well, now I would think, especially, well, if you had planned to close your stores, you would have, I mean, it's the website thing is just this is the next step for what you would want to do. And then with COVID, it just kind of like blew it up. So
Right.
that's great. So
Well, what it blew up, what COVID blew up, of course, was our stores across the U.S. that were retail. I mean, we were in Barney's for, not that COVID blew up Barney's, but we were in Barney's for 18 years. And so they're out of business. And, you know, with all the retail stores closing across the US, it's become very hard. Now, it's interesting. We just we ran reports on this year, last year, and the number of stores and who they are. And I mean, it's interesting to me because we're only off maybe 10, 15% in domestic stores. And I thought that's really not that bad for what's going on.
Yeah, you're lucky. It's crazy. People still shop. I mean, people are shopping. People are spending money online, and
definitely online,
especially you know, the personal care products, beauty.
Well, transition-wise, we actually, what Max, my son, did was take us off of the old platform that we had been running and move it on to a new one, redo the graphics. And of course, I always get involved in the art, the creative direction of the look and feel of it. But technically, he took that on and made it much more easier to use, simple to maneuver. All the things just made it smooth and it work sensationally. Just his expertise being, you know, part of that, this decade of people who understand exactly how this marketing online works. I mean, I come from a seat of your pants, learn how to do retail, and you actually have to you take care of every customer, and that's my way, and I try to put that as much as I can through the website. And and it's a wonderful sort of interchange on how the connection of the customer, my need to make sure that every customer is taken care of wonderfully and feels great and just enjoys that experience, and how you do that through a website. So where I get back, oh, we just want to automate the whole thing, and I want to say, I want you to call every customer, you know, so somewhere.
I know, right? That's I've never had that, but that would be, you know, so what is it? What sets you apart? Like, what are you doing now?
Well, what sets us apart is the product and the level of the product that comes in. I truly know that that's number one, and nothing goes out our door without each piece cared for by quality control and checking on what it is. And that doesn't say we haven't ever made an error. Of course we have, but we're so careful about what it is. And it did start in my store, because if you remember, we have such a following of customers who frankly can and shop anywhere they want. World, you know, it's a matter of them deciding that this is really a comfortable and good place for them, that somebody takes the time to edit the merchandise and pick quality merchandise. And that's what we put into Apothia when we made it. Yep. We won Interior Scent of the Year as a new company many years ago for 8 of our 11 scents at the time. 8 of our 11 scents. We won Interior Scent of the Year against nominees like Bottega Veneta of Italy, or L'Artisan Parfumer of France, or Crabtree Evelyn in London, Bond Number 9 in New York. And you know, these are heavyweight fragrance people, and we won it. So
That's insane. I mean,
yeah, that's just one of many awards that we've won.
You didn't grow up, you know, tell me about your child. You grew up, was your father an entrepreneur, or was he in the fragrance industry? What is your fascination with fragrance?
My family, well, there's two questions there. My family on both sides, my mother's side and my father's side, were merchants. So my father, my grandfather on both sides were merchants of their own. The fragrance part came. The best recollection I have of my grandfather was, I know the fragrance he wore. He wore this clove-ish fragrance called Bay Rum, and it came in this wonderful ceramic bottle. And I remember as a small child walking into his bathroom where he had it, and he must have had some love of colognes, but he always wore this one. It didn't matter what was on the counter. And later, when I opened my store at Melrose Avenue, that was in 1978. And even before that, in 1975, when I worked for Fred Siegel, I brought, as a buyer to his store, I brought makeup and beauty to the store during that time. Things I had found, and it was a store only of apparel at the time. But this was part of my desire to add something fresh and really hip to the mix. And when I opened my own store, I took a corner and I opened with fragrance. And I was, honestly, at that time, I had no technical knowledge of the fragrance business. I learned that. What I really was attracted to was the packaging and the bottling and the smell I liked, but I didn't know how you got there at that time. So those were things that I had to learn, and I wanted to learn. So it became a very interesting new, first just as something new to learn that I loved. And I found later that not only was it fun to learn it, it was amazing to me, because today it takes a concept that I write or think about and then write, and that then turns into a 4-dimensional product eventually. So just by thinking about where I want to go with a fragrance, I can now see the evolution of it carry through to the end result. The brief that I write goes to a technician, a perfumer, a true perfumer, because we still need that. We obviously want that and need it. We deal with some of the best in the world. And then there's the translation of my writing and my understanding to someone else. And it becomes this interesting connection of art and science, because, as you know, as a writer, as an editor and writer, what I say or what you write may oftentimes not be in sync to what I was thinking about or what you heard. So, but that disconnect is often part of the art form that comes out, and maybe even better than what I was originally thinking about. So you don't ever know exactly, but it's just a wonder to be able to work that process. Did I make it clear?
Absolutely. Years ago, I met with, and I think you work with her, Sarah Horowitz.
I work with her. Sarah used to work for me.
Okay. Yeah.
When she first came to Los Angeles, and yes, she is responsible. She was the perfumer that I used, my very first, when I made my first fragrance called If.
Okay.
IF. Right,
and that is like your biggest seller still, isn't it?
It's our signature fragrance, and it was our earliest fragrance, and it is our number one seller. And and the history. It's interesting. You worked with Sarah as well?
So many years ago, I interviewed her for the LA Times, and I went to her studio in Malibu, I believe.
Oh
And
yeah, that was,
she
she's not there
created,
now.
yeah, she had created a fragrance for me. And we sat and like she got really deep with me and was asking me all these questions. And I think I even cried. I don't remember. It was really intense, man, trying to make a perfume. So anyway, yeah, like she asked me all these questions and I don't even remember what it was. It was so long ago. But it was like the whole story of like the whole craft it's an art. It's an art form.
Well,
But yeah.
she was taking your information and transcribing it in her mind
Yep.
to a fragrance, and then eventually you got a fragrance, whether it was what you might have thought you were going to get or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it felt through the interaction.
Yeah. You want to hear the weirdest? I mean, I don't know, I'm totally
Yeah.
right. But like when I did that, I was, working as a magazine beauty editor for this teen magazine, and then I was freelancing and stuff. And then I did this story for the LA Times, and she was asking me all these questions about like me and what I really wanted. I don't know if it was out of life or whatever, but it got really like intense and like, it was really like thoughtful. And she really inspired me to go and create my own business, which is something I had been thinking about for a long time because she was an entrepreneur herself.
Right.
And I was in this point in my life where I'm just like writing for this magazine and working in a cubicle and thinking, is this really what is this what it is? Is this what is this it? Because if it is, then this is not fulfilling for me. Like sitting in a cubicle, churning out copy, like I wanted to do more. And like, I don't know, my experience with her really kind of sparked this desire to do more, and I did, and that's when I created Rapstar.
That's great.
And
when she worked for me, she came and she had this metal toolbox, and that was her toolkit of fragrances. And she told me her background, and Robin, we get so many people. We're in Los Angeles. Everybody is a movie star. Everybody is they're all,
oh yeah,
in a certain way. And Sarah came to me and she said, I was a perfumer, or I didn't know if she called herself a perfumer, but she said she had a perfume store.
They call them like a nose.
The nose is sort of the slang word, yeah, or alternative to the perfumer,
Mm-hmm.
less formal, I suppose. But she said, and she was, I don't know, 18 years old, 19, I don't know, she was young. And would you hire me? And I said, yeah, I'll give you a try, but I wanted to see how it goes. And then she told me that she makes custom perfume for people by interviewing them,
Mm-hmm.
and then making them as you experienced. And she said, would you mind if I do that to your customers? I said, well, I do mind if you take our customers from their process of being in our store and take them away and make a perfume. There's that. And she was respectful of that, but I'd find her out in the parking lot with a customer, working next to the car, off her lunchtime. And it's been a great relationship. We work with her today. Even amazing. So that's, I don't know, 25 years later, I guess.
Yeah, I must have been when she first started is when I.
Yeah, and well, Malibu was after she worked with me.
Okay.
That place up on the hills in Malibu.
Yeah, it was a hill.
Beautiful view.
I don't. Yeah.
Right behind the. I know I turned right at the fire station, and then I'd go up.
Yeah, like hill. Before you get to Zuma or something.
Well, it's pre-Zuma.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's
so it was great. And then when I made I made it in a unique way that it came to me that I could make a fragrance this was at the beginning. This was in about 1997, 98, somewhere in that time range. The internet had just started to blossom, and it was the first iteration of it. Everybody, there wasn't a business model that was actually working, but you had to have a website because it was just the cool thing to do. No one knew how to make a lot of money on it. But,
Right.
and for me, it was a matter of, oh, all right, I'll have a website. If somebody orders from it, it's extra money. I don't need to build out a store. I don't need to have employees. The same employees that are in my office can do that. It was maybe certainly a naive viewpoint as of today and where we're at with it, but correct of the time. And so I had this website, and I came up with an idea that I'd like to try to make a fragrance and communicate with people online. There wasn't social media, but there was email. And that's exactly what I did. And I asked Sarah to be a part of this as far as the nose. And I asked my friend, Dr. Andy Ehrlich, who is a clinical psychologist, and he would help me write questions that would be correct, because Sarah's questions were a little too involved for what I was trying to do, but we needed to still ask all the right questions to get to a fragrance. But I wasn't making one for each one of those people. I was making our signature scent.
Right. Okay.
All right. So I wrote an email to 100 of our customers online, and it said, how would you like to be one of a selected group who will help us create our own signature fragrance? And if you say yes, please don't tell anybody until this process is over, because we want to keep it a very secretive thing. And I went to Drew Barrymore in the store personally, and then Jennifer Gardner, Macy Gray, a singer, Lila Ford, another singer, and asked if they would participate in this. And I said, you can be anywhere you want if you travel, and you'll communicate on the website. And I got 100 yeses within days of writing these emails. And the part I wrote about, please don't tell anybody about this, was by design. So within a few days later, I would get an email from, I know I'm not supposed to know, but my sister is doing this. Do you think I could be involved with it too? You know, so it was word of mouth was starting, and we were just starting. Anyway, it lasted 8.5 months. We didn't lose a single one of these 100 individuals. And we learned an enormous amount about them, and kept each one of the documents and printouts of all the questions we asked. And Sarah directed on some of the information she needed. But I know how we wanted to know, we sent out fragrances 3 at a time, A, B, and C, in small vials to each one of these people. And we would ask them to respond online to a series of about 20 questions. And then we would redesign based on the answers inside of our group.
I'm just curious, what were some of the questions that you were asking people that were crafted by the psychologist?
The reason the psychologist was involved is his work was to have focus groups. So he would already be doing this for major companies, where they would come and they'd say, I have this new product and we want to know what the public thinks about it. And he taught me and us how to write pure questions that don't elicit an answer that you're looking for, but questions that elicit an expression of what the speaker actually thinks, good or bad or left or right, whatever it is. And he did that help for us. That's what Andrew did for us. So the questions included, the typical questions were always, of the three, which one did you like the best?
Mm-hmm.
Did you mix them? They were all small vials of oils. Did you mix any of them?
Mm-hmm.
And we needed to get that information. But what kind of, so we would then ask, what kind of fragrance do you like? Not necessarily these, in general. And we would give them 4 categories or 5 categories, you know, fresh,
Mm-hmm.
floral, earthy, etc.
Sure.
But then Sarah taught that if you say you like fresh, and I say I like fresh, we don't know what fresh you mean, and we don't know what fresh I mean. So
Right.
how do we finally get closer to that?
Right.
And so then we ask some questions like, what kind of foods do you like? Do you like fruits and vegetables? Do you like citrus? Do you like breads and pastries? And with these categories, where do you like, what sort of if you were vacationing, what kind of area do you like do you like mountain?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like beach? Do you like desert? You know, so we would
Sure.
start to get more of a profile of what it is that this person that's answering this question here,
Mm-hmm.
what else do they like, so we know. We also asked questions, what's your favorite color? We also didn't know whether they were male or female at the beginning. We had no idea, and we didn't want to be overt about it, but eventually we did. And we didn't want to ask, you know, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
But after the second or third round of this, by the way, it took 8.5 months back and forth. And it wasn't just one, it was get information in,
Right.
redesign, send information out, get more information, redesign, send more information out, etc. So we'd ask questions that were open-ended questions like, where do you wear fragrance? How do you feel when you wear fragrance?
Mm-hmm.
And those were amazing. Now, you've got to put yourself back in time when you first started using internet and a screen, and we're asking a question of somebody of, where do you wear fragrance? And at that time, it wasn't thought that you were typing this out and then where's it going to go? It was people, they were writing it as though it was their diary. And
wow, you must have some really good notes.
amazing. And if you could imagine sitting around a table with about 6-7 people, the perfumer and the doctor and the internet person that did that, and my key fashion director that worked for me, and myself, and a person at W Magazine, because she was doing a research program on the entire project, and then she would have the exclusive to do it after that. So she sat and took notes of it. And the question might be, where do you wear fragrance, or where do you put fragrance? And somebody would write. I remember some of them very well. Like, I put it on my cleavage and the inside of my legs as I wear a deep cut black Japanese dress.
Okay.
And, no. I feel, how do you feel when you wear fragrance? I feel like the heroine in an Ayn Rand novel, you know.
Wow, they were.
I mean, it was deep.
Yeah.
To ask them who they were, because we don't know.
Right.
This is where it got also very interesting. We found that these were all women. There wasn't a male in the group, and we didn't know that from the beginning. But they were so confident about who they were, and many of them speaking about one woman, I own 4 car dealerships in Michigan. I'm one of the most, I'm one of very few women in a male-dominated field, and I'm very proud of what I've accomplished. These kinds of things came through again and again. And after I got all of the information, I had words collated. I wanted to find out what was the color everybody liked the best? What were the words that we read the most about it within this? And they were words like feminine, romantic, sexy. These are words from all of these pages and pages that came through again and again and again. And it just was it was data mining that they're doing today that we did nearly manually then, but it gave us a very clear understanding of who it was that was buying our fragrance or wanting our fragrance.
Sure.
And we ended up, after this program, of course, everybody got a free gift of the fragrance that they were a part of.
Right.
At the end. And they also became 100 salespeople for us immediately.
Amazing. So based off of all of that information, you created the one, but then did you use that data to create all your other ones down the line? Because now you have so many.
Well, not only yes and no. I mean, it's sometimes doesn't work specifically, but generally all that information is so important that this is what a woman is really looking to feel like or looking to experience it through fragrance. Now this was all personal fine fragrance. It wasn't room fragrance at that time. It was all personal perfume. So these were general statements that or information that I would always use. I think that became a part of what do we want to accomplish here.
Right. So are you continually getting inspired to create new fragrances? Are you always still looking to your customers for that inspiration?
Well, we've created 4 new fragrances over the last 4 years, and part of it was I needed and wanted to continue to increase the library of fragrance offerings that we have. And there was that, but we are also getting collaborative requests now for fragrance because of people who have smelled what we've done and said, look, I'd like you to do that.
Brands, like other brands, or just personal?
Well, we did starting in 2014, we launched 5 fragrances that I did for Missoni of Italy. All new, all different. And that came through Apothia because their designer, Vanda Gelmini, was in our store, went back, spoke to Rosita Missoni, the matriarch of the family, and said, if you ever want to create a fragrance, go talk to this guy because he's really a craftsman. And I mean, I was really, above, I was flying just, when she told me that, but I was invited to go meet in Milan, which I did.
Amazing.
And I met with Rosita Missoni, and for me, I was telling myself, I really don't care if I get this or don't. I just want to talk to Rosita Missoni.
I just want to go to Milan, yeah.
No, well, Milan was fine, but I get to meet Rosita Missoni, the family matriarch of this famous Italian brand. And we sat and we talked for 3 hours the first time we met. It was fantastic. And then we sold quite a few. We did it. We launched in Paris in 2014. And then last July, she wrote me an email that they want to resurrect the program again. So
this is on the horizon.
We delivered the first group of them. They wanted it. We met in July. They wanted us to resurrect a program quickly so they could get it in some new stores for holiday. And I
Okay.
said, this is, we'll do our best. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. But we got the first shipments out in late November. And then of course, COVID hit. And so everything closed down, and we're starting to ramp it up again, but many of their stores still haven't reopened.
Okay.
But where's that? But we do that. Right now, I'm working on a new fragrance for a group out of Nashville that we've been doing one home candle for them for the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. Now we're doing another. We have 2 fine perfumes and diffusers for a Japanese group. And so it comes different ways, and it's just, it's just very fun and interesting.
Definitely. And robinrobinson.com is still going. That's a separate entity. You sell your Apothia products on that site as well.
Store, yes, we redid the site as well on a new platform. But then, and the concept there today, or the concept today is, because I don't have the retail stores, thus, and I don't want to do apparel for men's, women's, and children, cosmetic and beauty, home accessory design, which is what I did. And I came up with a concept that it would be just to do what I really want to do when I want to do it. And
that's a fantastic concept. I'm taking
really,
that on right now.
I'm almost sheepish to say that that's what it is, but it is. And
that's fine. I mean, you've gotten to that point. You're Ron Robinson. You can sell what you want when you want. And if you want to sell this particular necklace or this, high-end skincare brand,
that's exactly it. And I want to, and I don't want to have this pressure of having to do this, on having to find that, and because we already have Apothia.
You did that for 40 years.
And we have Apothia.com, and that's one kind of concept. And we're doing some electronic items. We're doing some fine jewelry from one maker that I really admire a lot. We opened an art gallery online with some of the people we used to do art gallery with in our retail stores. So these are interesting, artistic, creative endeavors that I enjoy with each one of these suppliers.
That's awesome.
Producers.
That's beautiful. And if something comes your way that you like, you can put it on your site. And there's no season you feel like you've got to stick it in.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. And originally it was with my wife, Stacy, said, when we're traveling, I always loved travel is, again, mixed with business always, because when it's in your blood, I love to go in stores and shop, and I love to go to museums, and I love to go to, if I can get in somebody's glass factory or something like that, I just love that. So I always used to pick up something somewhere and said, oh gosh, we can sell this. It's great. And
I know, that's so exciting. How has it been? I mean, you haven't been able to travel.
Well, that's the problem is we haven't been able to travel at all. And we're being very socially careful.
Right.
So
where would be the first place you'd want to travel to once you're able to?
Well, we actually had to delay a trip that we had to the Galapagos in Peru to see Machu Picchu and Galapagos. We delayed it last year. We were supposed to leave in April, and I'm sure we're going to have to delay it again another year. But we had this amazing boat that we chartered with 4 or 5 other couples, and it was really exciting. So we know we'll do that. But there's so many parts of the world that I already love. And that I need to go to, because Apothia is so strong in Japan, and I always go and visit with the stores and my people there who are carrying the line. We just opened Warsaw, Poland, with a group there, and they are going through this COVID thing up and down, where it's, okay, find a work, and then everything explodes again.
And
So we'll see what happens and when that is, that we get to all travel easily again.
So what do you do when you're not working? Do you have other hobbies aside from? You sound like you're all, but you're constantly working, and it's fun, which is great.
Well,
what do you do for fun that's not work?
Well, I live on the Venice canals, number one. I live near the beach. And one of the things this has allowed me this time is to really have the time to enjoy some of the things right around us. We take walks at the beach at sunset now that we didn't always do. I do stand-up paddleboarding, and I love that.
I did that a couple weeks ago. So fun.
Oh yeah? Where were you? Where'd you go?
I went to the marina.
I Mother's Beach?
Yeah, I did yoga on a paddleboard.
Wow.
And I didn't fall off. So
Don't worry.
that was fun. It was crazy. But yeah, this lady was next to me with her dog on her paddleboard too.
My dog used to come with me too.
Sitting there with a little like a little vest or a little suit, thing on it. And he just sat, the whole time. She's on her head, and I'm like, he must really like this. She goes, oh yeah, he does it all the time, like, it's amazing though, especially like I even went to like La Jolla in the summer with my family just to like get away, but be close, not far, and visited some girlfriends that live in that area, and I went kayaking, along the shore, and they're like, we've lived here forever, we've never done this. I'm like, this is in your backyard, like you really don't, it's been, blessing, I guess, to have all this time to be able to explore literally what you are living amongst. I can't travel far, but, we're so lucky to be living where we live.
We are, and we're fortunate, and I certainly am very understanding and empathetic for those who don't have the privilege that I have, and others have, some of my friends have. But I am so happy at the same time that I do. Mm-hmm. I'm thankful. Mm-hmm. But the ability to, and we talk about it, we've lived here almost 30 years, and mm-hmm. we never take evening walks on the beach and mm-hmm. watch the sunset there. And it's so fabulous, and it's a block away, what are we doing?
Yeah, you are lucky. It's awesome.
And in front of our home is water. We're on the Venice canals. And I often take my board and just go out and go up and down every canal.
How
it's
fun.
Quiet and solitude. And it's not only good exercise, mm-hmm. and it's great core exercise, but it's just a clearing. Mm-hmm. A very easy time to think about things. Mm-hmm. So I like the activities that I'm doing. I'm very handy around the house, and I am. And
I have a list if you want to come over, because your wife is very happy.
She calls me the handiest Jew she ever.
That's fantastic. I'm the one with the drill in my family. My husband, he goes, I have many other talents. I have many other talents, so I can't complain. But yeah, I am jealous of my girlfriends whose husbands are very handy. So, so you were talking about.
Anyway, I do lots of wonderful things, and I have an amazing son, or we have an amazing son that we're. I love to help where I can, if I can get through sometimes the mm-hmm. the barrier of how do you know more than I do, kind of a thing. And
well, they all know more than we know.
Yeah, I have this.
My daughter's 17 and she knows everything.
Right.
She told me the funniest thing she said was before COVID, when she was going to high school. She goes, I can do life. like you do life. I don't
Wow.
school anymore. I'm like, really? You can do life?
Wow.
Okay. She said that. Yeah. So
I can do life.
I can do life. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Just wait till she can't.
oh,
And she's running to you.
it's coming. She wants to go to
I,
New York next year for school. So she's a senior. So
yeah.
we'll
Well,
see.
I hope that it's in school. I hope so.
I hope so too. Tell me a little bit before I let you go
By
about.
the way, this is parent to parent for a moment. I kept trying to think of what can I say to my son. He's 27, he'll be 28 in June. What can I say that will help get through if he was to say, I can do life, he says it in whatever ways he says it. And I thought of this, I said, oh, great. I said, Max, I said, are you smarter than that 8-year-old? And he said, of course. I said, then think about the difference of our age. I've got you beat by 40, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you think I got a few bits of knowledge that you didn't have. And he didn't think that worked well at all.
It's usually when someone else talks you up to your kid that then they finally get it. It's when it comes from you, it's never going to work. It has to come from someone else. So
I know. Anyway.
I just was curious, with some of with what you're doing with the Apothia, like what kind of charities you're involved in, and
it's a great question, because not only what kind of charities, we've always been involved. We've always been very philanthropic, and because of our retail venture for all of these years, it seems like every one of our customers has a different charity that they were involved in. And of course, every one of them wanted our participation. So we actually did give to many in that way. But I'm very focused, and Anna, of course, has her pet adoptions, which I've gotten into. And my brother is the CEO of Jewish National Fund. Now, I've said Jew twice, but I'm not a practicing or religious Jew, but he is the CEO of one of the major Jewish organizations, so I must give to him.
Oh.
But I really enjoy and have looked now in this part of my life for how do I get involved in what I think is the most important thing. And I'm really narrowing down to environmental causes that I'm most caring about. And I do things with ocean, and I do things with air quality, and those are the areas that I'm majorly think that's where I can make a difference or want to.
Yeah.
So,
did you see
but we don't limit it.
Did you see the Attenborough documentary on Netflix?
I haven't finished it, but I have started it, and I've told Max, you got to watch it. It's so amazingly beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty telling.
Yeah,
I hope it gets through to a lot of people, but
I hope so. Well, he got the most. They did this thing where he went on social media. Did you read this? Where he went on Instagram and he got the most followers in the shortest period of time. Like within 48 hours, he got 5 million followers on his Instagram page.
Wow.
So, people
well, then somebody's listening, which is great.
Yeah.
And he's been around a long time already doing his work, but it's never been focused in this way that he has.
There's a lot of stuff coming out. There's a lot of agricultural type documentaries too. Something called Kiss the Ground. I don't know if you saw that one.
No.
It's about regenerative agriculture and global warming, and basically how it can be reversed through agriculture. And it's really interesting. It's a little bit deep in the beginning. It's a little like going back to science class, but I recommend it. I thought it was really interesting. Of course, I watch these things. I'm like, my family, you guys got to watch this stuff. Anything I say, you got to watch. They're not going to watch it. It's really amazing.
How clear is that?
I know. I watched the Social Dilemma, and they're like,
how about My Octopus Teacher?
Oh my God, that wasn't so. I cried like a baby. I really couldn't stand myself at the end. I'm like, what? It was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Amazing. I mean, and when he came and he hugged the guy, he literally like came up to him and hugged him. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's so amazing to me. Yeah. Well.
All right. So.
Anyways, all right. Well, my last question is,
yes.
Somebody who wants to start a retail business fresh out of college, what would you tell them?
I tell them to be bold and positive. And I'd also tell them, because that I think is, it personally strains you continuously because one comes out wanting to open a business, whether it's retail or something else, with expectations of success, always, which you must have. And there are downfalls. There are some failures. And we've got to understand that those are part of the learning process, and you're going to have to understand how to go through those in order to get to your next level. Just similar to what you and I were talking about our children as well. We'd like to save them some of the time of those lack of sick, but we do the best we can. But in somebody opening their own business, now let's take this out of context for a moment, because if they're asking me today, I would probably say, give it some space. Wait a minute, this isn't the perfect time to jump into a retail business. You may be able to get a lease cheap, that in a space, but I'm not so sure this is the perfect time to go and start a new business, because the startup time could be a lot longer than what typically may be happening.
Yeah.
But so without that, and I do feel that we'll be beyond this, of course, at some point, and we'll have entrepreneurship and we'll have new retail ventures. As a matter of fact, I met with a young fella 2 days ago who, through a series of events of somebody asking me to interview him, to vet him, because he wanted to be a part of a retail venture that they were going to do in a hotel. And I did. And he was very bold and confident, and ready to jump in and do it. But again, I could see clearly that there was going to be a lot of mistakes made because of the confidence, and and you get very humble very quickly in this business, and just be ready for those kinds of things. Look, I think if you want to do something like that, you absolutely must plan it and jump into it. I have no reason to tell somebody not to do that. I think that that's such a positive thing. My son is working on a business plan for a project that he wants to do. Doesn't happen to be retail. I like the look of it, but he's taken his time to interview others, put down in paper exactly where it's going to be, how it's going to be laid out, and I think at the right time he'll pull the trigger and do it. And I think it'll have a great amount of success opportunity there. So, and I think that's wonderful for somebody to do. I think that those people today, the young people today that I've seen working successfully, actually start with a product versus an entire retail store. And that's more of where I'm seeing the success, especially because they have the website and it's a single item or a concept, and it's able to easily be marketed on the website.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine, by the way, you make this hypothetical up that somebody's going to come out of college today and want to open a retail store. I think that a retail today, if they're coming out of college,
It was
it's going to be
online.
on the web.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a brick and mortar. I think it might follow with a brick and mortar. And I think they have a great opportunity, but it's as much effort to do that as it was when I opened a retail store. It just looks completely different, and there's different people that you need to involve yourself with to make it a success.
Mm-hmm.
The marketers, the technicians, all of these people who surround that business today.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, and I use the word bold, be bold, because that was something I felt I always needed more of. I always thought that it would be, I learned that you're just not going to get it if you're not going to ask, if you're not going to put yourself out there, if you're not going to take the risk. Those are the things that kept moving it along for me.
I mean, I think that's great advice for life in general, to get what you want, and you've got to be bold. Nothing's going to come to you. No one's going to just hand you stuff. You've got to ask for it and go after.
Yeah.
Your true happiness. Like
I'll be talking to your daughter then.
Let me call her in. Hold on.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so much more than that. Obviously, I mean, you know that, and I know that, and there's pages and pages and books of all the things we need to do to learn how to communicate with somebody, because it's one thing just to ask for something and everybody tells you no. It's another thing once you learn how to ask that you actually get a yes, because you've done your homework on either how to ask, what to ask, and so there's books on it. But if I narrowed it down to the one word, I'd start there.
Awesome. Well, I think I took up over an hour of your time. So.
Really? It went like that.
Oh, thank you. This was really great. It was so nice to meet you. And
you too.
Yeah, definitely. Well, good luck with everything. I'll be following your story, and I'm gonna have to get myself some perfume because.
Well, why don't you look online?
Yeah.
On my site, and just write me which one you think you'd like to try, please.
Oh, you're so.
I would love to do that as
really.
You can read the different notes of each one. Or we can, just give me an idea where you'd like to be.
Where would I like to be?
In other words,
on an island? No. Okay.
Well, then I'm gonna send you a home fragrance called either Bronzed or Wave, and it'll just be fresh orange flower and petitgrain, or it could be a couple of these fresh ones, but I'd like to be on that island too.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe a margarita. And
that would be all right. I have to get back to
Robin, thank you so much.
It was so nice to meet you. I'll talk to you. Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.